Hi there. Welcome to our third webinar this morning. It's great to have a number of attendees online, both in New Zealand and from overseas. So yeah, pleasure to have you here. My name is Shane Dynan. I'm leading the implementation and the operation of the auctions going forward. We are joined here this morning by a couple of panelists, or by a few panelists from the NZX AEX team. The main focus of this webinar today is just to update you all around activity and so on in the lead up to the first auction scheduled for the 17th of March. I'm really pleased to also have online here and presenting today is Andre Chopper from AEX. Andre is going to give a perspective on the European emissions market and then also talk about some of the AEX's activities in this area as well too. And we really thought that rather than just in this webinar, rather than just talk about sort of the operational aspects of the auctions, we thought it was a really good opportunity to have AEX presenting here and just to sort of give everyone on the video today, just a sort of wider perspective of what's happening sort of in the overseas emissions markets. So, look, in regard to the agenda this morning, we've got Tim Chadwick here, who's NZX's operations manager, and Tim will discuss around the operational elements and the lead up to the auction. Also joined by Esther Newton, our project manager, who'll give us just a brief update around some specific project matters, and again, particularly as we lead up into this auction. Questions can be submitted just through the webinar portal that you'll see on your screen. Andre, Tim, and Esther will be able to answer any of them at the end of the sessions. And also, if there's some questions there that we're unable to answer just because of time, or there's a specific sort of query that has been raised, we'll come back directly to you after the webinar as well. So look, I won't sort of cover off too much more. So without further ado, I'll just pass the video now to Tim, and Tim will talk about the operational parts of the auction. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Shane. Good morning and welcome to the third webinar for the New Zealand ETS auctions. My name is Tim Chadwick. I'm the operations manager here at NZX. As Shane mentioned, my intention is to cover off progress to date. I have a few reminders. I want to share a few updates and learnings to do with the registration and collateral. Also mentioned we'll be taking questions at the end. But if we are unable to get to them, or if they are organisational specific or need to be referred to the Ministry or EPA, we will reach out to you directly. If you do require any further detail on anything, please do contact us at auctions@nzx.com. And also Esther will be distributing the slides and presentation after the webinar. So it's obviously an exciting time getting this close to the first auction. We've gone through quite a process, quite a journey with our partners and stakeholders, and extremely happy with the progress to date. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those that have worked with us up until now, and those who have joined us for the simulations and provided feedback and suggestions along the way. The simulations were designed to represent as close as possible the actual auctions minus the registration and collateral process. They were held across 2 days in late January and drew nearly 40 individual participants, placing hundreds of bids. You've provided feedback through this process, including a few potential efficiencies, including additional user functionality and visibility, which we'll be reviewing after the first auction. Our intention was to design and build a platform and process which is simple and efficient as possible, and I believe that in this aspect we've been successful. To this end, we've now completed and launched the auction platform in February, and I hope you've all had an opportunity to check it out. As this is now live, we've been processing registrations and collecting collateral from auction participants. I would draw your attention on the platform to the training section, which provides details regarding the many aspects of the auction, including registration, collateral, and settlement. Also the cheat sheets, namely the auction checklist, which is displayed here, which will assist you with registration or remind you of the key requirement dates. Collateral as well This will give you information pertaining to the timing, methodology, and options. And lastly, the auction fundamentals. So these are all located within the training section of the platform under cheat sheets. So please download those and have a look. So as mentioned earlier, the registrations have begun. We've been working through a process with participants, ensuring these are validated and correctly completed. I'd like to just quickly touch on a few of the more common questions and issues we've observed through this process. Firstly, being the information provided within the statutory declaration must match that displayed in the emissions trading registry, specifically the EPA unique ID, account number, address, and account holder. You've been asked to provide a proof of bank account. Now that's going to include a deposit slip, statement, letter from your bank, or a printed version of your internet banking will also suffice. If they are photocopies that you've provided, then we may be asking you to get them certified. Something provided by your bank is always going to be preferable. A reminder to users, please use your own RealMe account credentials when you're logging in to the auction systems. These are not to be generic across other or multiple users. If you have not yet registered, please do. There's still time. The absolute deadline for this is the 10th of March, which is 5 business days prior to the auction and 4 business days from now. The 10th is also the deadline for the auction operator to receive collateral by cleared cash or other means. Failure to fully register or provide collateral by this time will result in you not being able to participate in the auction. When you've submitted collateral, you will see the balance reflected in your ETS Auctions participant dashboard on the next business day. If any of the criteria that I've just mentioned is not satisfied, we may ask you to begin the process again and provide that additional information. Hence the importance of getting this right within the time frame. Another very common question that we're getting is surrounding the invite code or EPA unique ID. When you have registered on the EPA's emissions trading registry, you will be assigned an invite code. Within the registry, this is found under the My Details section, illustrated in this slide. This is then used within the registration process within the auction platform as the EPA unique identifier. Many of you would have seen yesterday afternoon that the Ministry has issued an update affecting methods of collateral, namely that a bank guarantee is no longer an acceptable method of collateral, and that there are now some new stipulations surrounding letters of credit. As mentioned, this is a recent development, so material published on the platforms is still being updated as we speak. As mentioned, we sent that communication yesterday afternoon, as detailed here. If you did not receive it, these slides will be distributed, as mentioned, after this webinar to all attendees, or please feel free to contact us for further clarification. Back to the auction. It's scheduled, as we know, Wednesday, the 17th of March. Subsequent auctions throughout the year will be in June, September, and December. There's a 24-hour warm-up period in which users will be able to access the bidding platform, and I would advise you to please do this and ensure all users are set up as intended. Please ensure at least one user has been assigned a bidder role. You will obviously not be able to place bids during this period, but if anything is not 100% clear during this time, please do reach out to us. On the day of the auctions, bids may be placed from 9 AM until the auction window closes at 12. The operator will be monitoring the ETS Auctions inbox, manning the phone throughout, and obviously keeping an eye on the auction process. When the auction is complete, the operator will ensure all criteria is met, and if successful, will publish the results. Participants will have an opportunity to receive an invoice later on that day through the auction platform, and an email confirmation will be sent advising you that the invoice is ready. Now, depending on your email service provider, the email may go through to your spam folder on the first time, so please check as necessary and add us to your contacts list. The invoice will inform you of the amount of NZUs you have successfully gained. Remember, any bids you have made which fall beneath the clearing price will not be successful. Payment must be made within 4 business days after the auction. So in this case, it's going to be the 23rd of March by midday. Once settlement is made, the NZUs will be transferred into your EPA registry account. This will generally be about 5 to 7 days after the auction. If you find that these are delayed or if you see any issues there, please do contact either NZX or the EPA. At this time, if you didn't use your cash collateral or there is residual cash collateral after settlement, it will be returned to you via the same account in which the deposit was made. Just a final note regarding the confidential reserve price. So the government has introduced a bill which will enable a reserve price to be set up prior to the auction. This has a purpose of preventing NZUs selling significantly lower than the secondary market price. It is very likely that this will be included in the first auction, and if the final clearing price of the auction falls below the confidential reserve price, then no units will be sold, and the unsold units will be rolled forward into the next auction in the same calendar year. If you did want to see some more details on that, you can visit the ministry's website, or if you want to track progress of the bill, please go to the New Zealand Parliament website. I would imagine that a formal notification will be sent prior to that auction. So before I hand over to Andre, I will just see if we've got any questions here. No questions. Again, look, if there's anything that's unclear, please do see the presentation again, or do just reach out to us. Thanks very much. I'll hand you over to Andre.
Unmute. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today. My name is Andre. I'm responsible for the European auction contracts at EEX, and also I'm the product owner from EEX's side for the bidding system for New Zealand. I want to give you an update about the European market today. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the EU ETS in a nutshell. It is in place since already 2005, and it's a mandatory cap and trade scheme. It is the key EU climate action policy pillar, and at the moment covering around about 45% of overall EU greenhouse gas emissions. It affects more than 11,000 installations, and the cap set around 2 billion in 2013 is decreasing year by year. There's a yearly compliance cycle with surrendering of the allowances in April. Next slide, please. Well, on this slide, you see quite a lot. It gives you an overview of trading volumes and prices in the first 3 phases of the EU ETS. The bars represent the trading volume per year. And you can see from year to year, and especially from phase to phase, a strong increase in volumes. In the year 2020 alone, a volume of more than 15 billion allowances was traded. And what you also can see in red is the volume traded in derivatives contracts, and in gray, the volume traded in spot contracts. And you see that around about 90% is traded in derivatives. The market has developed to be a very liquid market, and a lot of participants are active. Almost all of the portion is traded on exchange. There's only a very little portion traded OTC. What you can also see in the black line is the annual average spot market price. And there you can see that in the pilot phase, it went down to 0 at the end. And this has been due to no banking of allowances for phase 2. So they got invalid at the end of phase 1. Then it increased a bit in phase 2. And then, but from 2012 until 2017, it remained more or less stable, but on a low level, far below 10 euro per allowance. But then, end of 2017, the European Commission and also other regulatory bodies decided to implement a so-called market stability reserve, along with other measures for the fourth phase of the EU ETS. And since then, there has been a steep price increase, and also volumes have gone up even more. What you can't see on this slide, because it's only until 2020, what is the price right now? And this has developed even further. So on, I think, 11th of February, something around that date, we hit for the first time the 40 euro mark for one allowance. And at the moment, we are around about 38 euro, but this 40 euro means more than 66 New Zealand dollars, which is quite remarkable. And we'll see where the journey takes us. So then the next slide, please. Yes, on this slide, it gives you an overview about past and estimated supply, as well as the emissions in the phases 2 till 4, so until 2030. In the blue bars, you see the free allocation. So in phase 2, almost all of the volumes have been allocated for free. Then there was a sharp change with the beginning of phase 3. So, and this is the red part of the bar. So auctions became the instrument of choice. And more volumes, more than half of the volume actually at the end of phase 3 is auctioned. Another important point what you can see on this slide is since 2019, there is a cut due to this market stability reserve, which I mentioned on the previous slide. And for example, in 2020, this took out of the market around about 420 million allowances. And what you can also see that for the years to come, so from 2021 onwards, projected demand is above supply. So the black line shows the demand. It's the projected emissions, and supply comes from the allocation, free allocation, from the auctions, and from the funds, which are also auctioned. And you see quite a huge gap there. So a lot of players in the market, supply below demand. You see this will be probably an interesting market for the years to come. Also, there are further adjustments currently under discussion from the European Commission, such as including more sectors into the EU ETS, for example, heating and transport. Next slide, please. Yes, and on this slide, I show you some milestones from our EEX experience. So our goal is to serve customers worldwide in the carbon markets. And especially in the EU ETS, we are very active. Since already 2005, EEX offers spot and futures trading. Since 2010, we are auctioning under various contracts for various contracting authorities. In 2020, we reached a landmark milestone with our 2,000th primary auction. Some figures for 2021 as well. So EEX is auctioning for the EU ETS 100% of the auction volume. There are almost daily auctions, and a total of 223 auctions is planned for general allowance, a sum of round about 700 million, and 7 auctions for around about 4 million aviation allowances. Last not least, an international outlook. So we are not only active in the EU ETS, we are engaged in the North American market via our affiliate Nodal. And there we also offer a broad range of environmental products. Since also 2018, we have trustful partnerships with carbon exchanges in China. And really important, this year, it started already last year, but this year we will see the first auctions. We have a great partnership with NZX for the New Zealand auctions. Are there any questions? I see there's one question, yes. What collateral do you require for EU auctions? Okay, so for the EU auctions, you usually participate via clearing members, and you have to pay first, and then okay, so the payment and also the delivery takes place on T+1. So if the auction is today, then tomorrow morning your clearing member will hand over the money to our clearinghouse. Our clearinghouse will hand over the money to the auctioneer, and you will be delivered the units. Any other questions?
I can just see a question that's come through here for me. Why are we T-5 for collateral? Obviously, we want to allow a time for cleared funds to arise, for us to clarify all the data that's come through, any other sort of collateral methods as well, letter of credit, etc. So it's just a process view, just to have a clean cut. At the moment, there's a question here about futures. At the moment, from our perspective, this is something that we'll look into for future projects, but not right now. Okay, I think that's probably the questions. Again, if there are any other questions, please do reach out to us through the email or pick up the phone. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Cool, thanks guys. Cool, so I'll just wrap up our presentation. So yeah, the main message there is just please do get in touch with us. If there's anything more you want to know, we're always available over email or phone, so we've got our details there. As Tim was mentioning earlier on, you have until the 10th of March to register for the auction and then to provide your collateral. So that's that hard deadline we have there. So we've already had quite a few people register, so there's still time to do that. So please get in touch with us about that. There's lots of information in the training section of the website, and then you would have seen the cheat sheets that have been sent through, and there's also handouts on this webinar if you want to quickly grab them from that spot too. A last reminder, so we're going to make the bidding system available to access from 24 hours before the auction. So that's a great opportunity if you want to test out your access and make sure that that link is all working right for you. There'll be a button that appears for you to go for an access at auction, and there's a YouTube video we have about bidding which shows you exactly what you should see and where you'll go. So definitely check out that video to become more familiar with that process. And the thing to keep in mind there is that you need to have at least one bidder to be able to access the auction. So make sure that you or one person in your team has that role, and you have to have the bidder role in order to get through to the bidding system. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll be doing a check in the lead up to the auction, and we'll give you a call if we see there's any issues there and you need to add someone else. Lastly, we'll send out a copy of this recorded webinar and a copy of the presentation as well for you to refer to, and then do keep in touch with us if you have any more questions. So thanks Shane, Andre and Tim, and thanks everyone for their time. Really great to have you involved, and look forward to a successful first auction on the 17th of March. So take care and thanks a lot. See you.
Thank you.